The Motor City Comicon celebrated its 30th year with 3 days of events and activities geared toward all things pop culture. Things kicked off on Friday, May 17th and continued through Sunday, May 19th. Approximately 70,000 people, many dressed in colorful and creative costumes, passed through the doors of the Suburban Collection Showplace in Novi, Michigan to shop for comics and collectibles and to meet their favorite artists and celebrities. For the 30th year, the Suburban Collection Showplace added 180,000 square feet of space following extensive renovations in 2018. The Comic-Con was started in 1989 by the owner of Motor City Comics, Michael Goldman, at the Dearborn Civic Center. We talked to a couple of comic book vendors who have been part of the Comic-Con since the beginning.
Well, it's a tremendous accomplishment for Mike to have this thing go on for 30 years, and it's growing bigger than ever. It's my home show, so I do shows all over the world, but I'll have to do my home show.
Well, the first year it was ran was back in '89 at the Dearborn Civic Center when they actually had a convention center. And there were probably maybe about 50 dealer tables and just nothing but comics. And a bunch of comic artists and writers that have never been to Michigan before. And then later on it grew. A few years later they got Ron Perlman to come, who starred in Hellboy, and that pretty much started the whole media guest craze. And it just grew and grew into this mega show that just grows so much every year.
More than 40 celebrities showed up to help celebrate the Comic-Con's 30th by signing autographs and posing for photos with fans. Leslie David Baker and Brian Baumgartner played Stanley Hudson and Kevin Malone on The Office for 9 seasons.
It's been great. As you know, when we were doing the show for 9 seasons, we did not have an audience. We didn't get a chance to meet people and see them. And being able to go and do Comic-Cons like this and many others, you get a chance to meet the fans and talk to people and find out that the show did have an impact and continues to have one on people's lives. So hi, and they walk by and they wave and they're very friendly. So it's gratifying to be able to see and meet people who appreciate the work that we put in to the series.
It's really fun. You're right. In a normal shooting schedule, we don't get that sort of immediate feedback, and although on social media now with the memes that have been created, it's pretty clear that there's a big following. Being able to come out here and actually interact with fans directly, eye to eye, and share a laugh or a joke it's really fun.
Talk about how the show has impacted your life and the opportunities it's created for you.
Oh, it's allowed me to work with people and meet people that I never would have met. I got to meet, Carol Burnett and, Cicely Tyson and, just people that I never would have met. Carol Burnett told me I was funny, so it is official. I must be because Carol Burnett said so. And if Carol Burnett says you're funny, then nobody else needs to say anything else.
Being a show that, ran for 10 years that so many people loved. You mentioned what Leslie said. For me, it's a lot the same way. I mean, getting the opportunity to work with people, but also form lifelong friendships with professional athletes. I'm a huge sports fan, and I'm going to the Detroit Tigers game tonight because there's a couple of the players are big fans of the show and reached out, and so I'm going to go hang out with them. So for me, a little kid who was a big sports fan from Atlanta to have done something that gives me that experience is amazing.
Lou Ferrigno played the Incredible Hulk on television in the 70s and 80s. He's still as popular as ever with fans 40 years later.
Well, it's great because we have over 70,000 people. The show gets bigger and better every year. What I like about coming here, there's like a family here, and the people are so nice, so generous. I feel so appreciated because this makes me feel like reliving the Hulk again.
Henry Thomas starred as Elliot in E.T. when he was 10 years old. He currently stars in the Netflix series The Haunting of Hill House.
Now, most people would agree with me that your performance in E.T. is one of the finest performances by a child actor, I think, in movie history. What do you attribute that performance to?
You know, I think that I embodied a certain characteristic that they were looking for as a kid, and I think the film's about compassion, and I've always been a pretty sympathetic looking fellow, so it was just an easy fit.
Yeah. Talk about Spielberg and how he influenced that performance and what Spielberg means to your career.
Well, I mean, E.T. was such a huge success at the time in '82, '83, and it was #1 at the box office for 10 years, only surpassed really by Titanic. So, you know, in terms of making me kind of like a household familiar, you know, it put me on the map in a lot of ways.
What's it like being here at an event like this and having people come up and tell you what the movie and your performance means to them?
Well, it's great. I mean, you know, in a world where, as a film actor, you don't really interact with the audience ever, this is sort of one of the only venues where you can get some feedback on your body of work, I suppose. And yeah, it's refreshing, and it's nice because people are here because of a love of a genre or comics or whatever it is, and it's nice to see their excitement. It's infectious.
Neve Campbell achieved fame on the TV series Party of Five and took it to the next level when she starred in the Scream franchise as Sidney Prescott.
Neve, thanks for coming to Michigan. I hope you're having a good time. Describe your experience at Comic-Con this year.
Everyone's been super welcoming and really nice, and it's exciting to see everybody come out and have a good time.
What's it like having people come up and tell you how much your work means to them?
It's pretty amazing. I think as a screen actor, you don't get that immediate response from an audience like you do when you're on stage. So for us to come out and meet the fans and hear their opinions and see how we have some kind of an impact is really lovely.
Speaking of impact, let's talk about the Scream franchise, what it did for the horror genre and what it meant to you and your career.
Everything. For the horror genre, it's said that it brought the genre back. I think there had been a big lull in horror films, and we were lucky that we hit at the right time and made a good movie, and Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven as a combo were just incredibly bright with what they did with the film, with sort of making a horror film with a wink at the horror film genre at the same time. It was very intelligent. So that was exciting, and for me, you know, it was my first lead in a movie, and it did really well, so I was lucky.
It looked fun.
It was a lot of fun. We had a blast on these movies.
Congratulations to Michael Goldman and his Motor City Comic-Con team for their 30-year milestone. In Novi, this is Joe Johnson reporting for ONTV News.